this winter, though. It
Yes,
has been really freezing. But you went snowboarding yesterday.
I did.
Yeah,
it was
really
awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Where did you go? Hey guys! How are you guys doing today? Welcome to another one of our live session where we take time to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand because, well, we are the experts of New Zealand travel, but why are we the experts?
Well, because we are the team behind backpackerguide.nz, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide. And it's 100% free for you guys to browse and research everything to do with your trip to New Zealand. And by the way, this is Robin and I'm Laura. Good to introduce ourselves first. But let's talk more about backpackerguide.nz. If you're not really into reading, we do this live Q&A session every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time for you guys to come onto the live chat and ask your questions. And just to tell you what time that is around the world, so like I said, it's 8 a.m. New Zealand time on a Sunday morning on whatever day that is. On a Saturday evening, that's in the US at 4 p.m. EST or 12 p.m. PST. In the UK or France, that is also on a Saturday night at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. And in India, it is bright and early on a Sunday morning at 1:30 a.m. So throughout the week, we do also compile a list of questions that you guys have been asking in the comments section of any of our YouTube videos. We've got quite a lot of questions to go through. So while we're waiting for some questions to come up on the live chat, we can take the time to go through those as well.
Yeah, good idea. Also, if you guys are in the live chat right now, tell us where you're from and what time is it for you guys, just so we can update our
little board.
Yeah, little board of time, because sometimes we do get it wrong. So, just make sure you tell us that. All right, so while you guys are getting warmed up a little bit and start asking us questions in the live chat, we are going to go over questions that we received throughout the week. And the first question is from Michelle W. on YouTube. And she said, hey guys, I really do like what you guys are doing with the YouTube channel. I'm planning my trip to No, she didn't. She just said, weather packing New Zealand, November. So we're going to cover the weather in November in New Zealand. All right,
you seem a little bit touchy about that.
I just thought that was funny to just have like a bunch of keywords. I think that was a Google search she was trying to do, and she typed it in the comments.
Oh, well, we can still answer that for her.
Exactly. All right.
So, November in New Zealand. November is actually the last month of spring in New Zealand. So that usually means that the weather is getting warmer, and it's usually a really good time to travel around New Zealand. This is because this is just before the craziness of the summer crowds all comes into New Zealand. You can usually enjoy the good weather while also having a little bit, less crowds around and feeling like you're enjoying more of the place to yourself. But as we're about to find out, that doesn't mean that there's going to be no rain or no maybe slightly chilly days, because the weather is very different throughout New Zealand. It really depends on which part of New Zealand you're in, and New Zealand is an island, so the weather is always changing, and that means that there can be rain at any time of the year. So
it's also in November, it's also sandfly season, especially in the South Island, so make sure that you are using insect repellents. You also want to make sure to have high factor sunscreen, because in November the sun is getting harsher, and there is no protection between your skin and the sun in New Zealand, as it is right below the ozone hole. So the hole in the ozone layer. You also want to have a bunch of layers in your day pack, just because, as Laura says, is really changeable. And you're going to need to start booking things a little bit more in advance as the high season is starting. Mm-hmm. So that's our tips for traveling in New Zealand in November. But let's talk about the weather. Yeah. All right. So for the weather, we're going to be taking a map. We're going to talk about most of the, all the main regions of New Zealand. And we're going to go for average temperatures in November to begin with. So that's going to be the average temperature in those places. That doesn't mean this is what you're going to get all the time. It fluctuates quite a lot, but it should give you a good idea what kind of temperatures you can expect in New Zealand in November. All right, so let's get started with northern New Zealand, which is Northland, Auckland, and Tauranga. And that's 16 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. In central North Island, which is Hamilton, Taupo, and Rotorua, it's 14 degrees Celsius, which is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. In southwest North Island, that's New Plymouth, Palmerston North, and Wellington, it's 14 degrees Fahrenheit again, and that's 57 Fahrenheit. so 14 degrees Celsius, 57 Fahrenheit. Eastern Northern is Gisborne, Napier, and Wairarapa region. That's 16 degrees Celsius, which is 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, moving on to the Southern, we have the Northern Southern, which is Picton, Nelson, and Blenheim. That's 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 15 degrees Celsius, which is 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry about that. On the Western Southern, that's the wide West Coast, Westport, Hokitika, and Milford Sound. That's 13 degrees Celsius, which is about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Eastern Southern, which is Kaikoura, Christchurch, and Timaru, it's 14 degrees Celsius, which is 57 degrees Fahrenheit. In Inland Southern, that's Lake Taupo, Queenstown, and Arrowtown, and Alexandra, and all of those little towns, it's 13 degrees Celsius, which is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And in the Southern New Zealand, Dunedin and Invercargill, that's 12 degrees Celsius, 53 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so that's kind of what you can expect temperature-wise. Now, precipitation, which means rainfall. So how much rain does New Zealand get? It's measured in millimeters. So how many millimeters of rain does New Zealand get in the month of November? So in the northern New Zealand, so we're going back up to Northland, Auckland, and Tauranga, that's 80 millimeters. Again, remember that the weather kind of changes really often. So it doesn't mean you get a lot of rain in one time, maybe just a little bit of drizzle here for like about half an hour, and then moves on. So don't be too panicked. Central Northern, Hamilton, Taupo, and Rotorua, that's 90 millimeters. Southwest Northern, which is New Plymouth, Palmerston North, and Wellington, it's 70 millimeters. Eastern Northern, which is Gisborne, Napier, and Wairarapa, that's 60 millimeters. Northern Southern, moving on to Southern, Blenheim, Picton, Nelson, that's 80 millimeters. Western Southern, which is the wide West Coast, always has the highest amount of rain, but that's what makes it really beautiful. I love the West Coast, 300 to 540 millimeters, so a lot of rain. Eastern Southern, Kaikoura, Christchurch, and Timaru is 40 millimeters. Inland, it's Lake Tekapo and Queenstown, that's 30 to 70 millimeters. And Southern New Zealand, Dunedin and Invercargill is 60 to 80 millimeters. So that's your kind of average, what you can expect weather-wise in New Zealand in November. Now, our best places to travel in New Zealand in November are...
Our best places are...
Our favorite places, even.
One of the best places to visit in November is Milford Sound. This is because it's usually a little bit quieter, because it is obviously one of the most popular attractions in New Zealand, and in summer it's super busy. So just before those summer crowds come in, get that Milford Sound trip in by visiting in November, where you will get a few sunny days, but obviously this is in one of the wettest places in New Zealand, so do be prepared for rain as well. So another awesome place to visit is Aoraki Mount Cook National Park. There's a little village there called Mount Cook Village with lots of little walks, and during this time of the year, it's again before the summer crowds come, but at a time where it's usually all the thick snow is left, so you're just left with a sprinkling of snow everywhere, and it's a really good time to check out that beautiful snow-capped mountain scenery. The Tongariro National Park. We're just going through some of the places that are usually really popular in the summer season, so it is best to get there before the crowds come. And again, the Tongariro National Park is home to the most popular day hike in New Zealand, the Tongariro Crossing. And November is the first full month where the Tongariro Crossing is open for people once again to take the shuttles there and do their hike. So it's a good time to go there before it's crazy busy, and you still get to see a little bit of the snow on the surrounding volcanoes as well, which is pretty cool. Geraldine in the South Island, otherwise known as Rangitata. This is where you can get some of the spring snow melt on the whitewater, so you could do whitewater rafting.
Gushing is epic. It's good whitewater rafting over there in November. It's really, really good.
Absolutely. And then finally, Hamilton is home to one of the most, probably one of the most popular gardens in the whole country, which is the Hamilton Gardens. And because it's well into spring by November, this is where a lot of the flowers are in bloom. So it's a really awesome time to go and check out the Hamilton Gardens.
Here you go. So this is our take for traveling in New Zealand in November, between the weather, our favorite places, a few tips. And obviously, when you're packing your bags for New Zealand, keep in mind all the tips that we give you. And if you do want some more information, we do have plenty to help you out on backpackerguide.nz. So that's www.backpackerguide.nz. Yeah, we got the weather for all the months. So here you go. Like and subscribe if you found this useful. And yeah, I'm going back to live chat. All right, so we got some people waking up on the live chat. Hey, Shahal, good morning. He says, which one is better between Wellington and Christchurch? I prefer Wellington. What about you?
I think I prefer Christchurch. There's usually a lot more. I like the South Island in general, so I just like to sort of visit the areas around Christchurch. But I think in terms of cities, Wellington is a kind of nicer city.
So Laura likes both.
I like both. It depends what you like. If you have a definition of what better is, let us know.
Tero says, do you have to book all your hotels beforehand, 5 people, if you're between the 16th of December and the 5th of January? We would only like to reserve Christmas and New Year's and keep other options open. You absolutely have to book everything right now if you do want to have spot. This is the busiest time in New Zealand and everything is very often fully booked. We already know of some hotels which are fully booked for the entirety of December and January at this time of the year. They already told us that they were fully booked.
Yeah.
So absolutely book. Yes, right now. Do not wait and book your entire trip,
And
especially for 5 people.
5 people.
5 people is a big travel group. So you absolutely have to book. You should be doing that literally in the next week. To help you out, actually, on backpackerguide.nz, we literally just finished publishing our latest reviews of all the hostel, hotel, motel, and even Airbnb. So if you go on the accommodation tab, you will find that we have much more article. I think we published 170 article last week. Yes. 170 different reviews of a hotel and everything, because we were, well, you guys saw that we were out for almost an entire month. So we went to many places. So you have all our reviews right there. So make sure to go on the website, which is backpackerguide.nz, and check out the accommodation tab. Heaps of accommodation for you. Yeah. All right. Annie Piper say, hey, great to see you again. It's 4 p.m. here on the East Coast of the US. Good. So we get the time correct. Perfect. What would you suggest for food budget per person per day? We want to do a combo of fast food, fine dining, and homemade. All right. So food cost in New Zealand. So that's a really good question, Annie. It's Annie and Ati. Yeah, I remember now, Annie and Ati. So it's a really good question. Cost of food in New Zealand varies a lot. So because you want to do a bit of combination between fast food, fine dining, and homemade, we're going to be talking a little bit about all the different type of food that you can get in the country. So the first thing that you mentioned right here is fast food. So the cost of fast food in New Zealand is actually quite reasonable, and yeah, for McDonald's, Burger King, do you want to give us a couple of prices, or do you want me to go for it?
I think you should go for
All
it.
Right.
You're the fast food guy.
Am I the fast food guy though? She always makes me order. All right, cool. So for the cost of food in New Zealand, for fast food, usually if you want to get yourself a combo meal, it will cost you about $15 to $16 if you get like those larger kind of burgers. But if you want to get yourself those promotional kind of value combos and everything like that, it ranges between $5 to $9. And with that, you're going to have like, you know, a small ice cream, a small drink, a small portion of rice, and a small burger. You always have those kind of brand like Carl's Jr. that have like 2 quite big burgers for like $9 or those kind of things. So that's kind of the price that you can expect. Other fast food are like pizzas. So pizzas, for example, like Domino's, because that's more the fast food. We're going to talk about a pizza in a bar a little bit later. But the Domino's pizza, they range from $5 to like this basic kind of pepperoni pizza to about like $9, $10 on like the bigger one with like fancy peri chicken or anything. Actually, some of them goes up to $14 for like those a little bit more fancy stuff.
Yeah, or whatever they call it.
If you go to Subway, if it's more your fast food of choice, if you go to Subway, the sub of the day, you know, they have that all around the world. So it's usually about $5 for the sub of the day. Otherwise, for the half Subway, half sub, for the half sub is about $7. It goes up obviously in prices, and for the full sub it goes from $9 to more than that. So that's kind of around kind of the price for like those kind of fast food. If you consider cafe in fast food, you would be paying
maybe about $6 for like a sandwich or cabinet food, or like a pie, something like that. So cabinet food is usually the food that you can pick up quickly from the cabinets. That's usually quiches, savory pies, sandwiches, sub rolls. So that can, depending on what cafe you go to, it can range from $6 to $16. And then for a coffee, that's usually around $5. And what else do you get at cafes? Slices.
How much is dessert?
Like dessert, little tray bakes and stuff. They can range between $4 to $6 each, I'd say. But yeah, moving on to maybe some of the fine dining, or at least more the restaurant dining, as there isn't a huge like actual fine dining scene in New Zealand, but there's certainly a lot of restaurants. For an evening main meal, that can usually be between about $25, usually at the cheapest, to anywhere up to about $50 for a main meal.
Yeah, if you go to a pub and you order like the burger and the fries or the pizzas at the pub, it's going to be about between $24 and $27. But then if you go to a restaurant and you order like the lamb shank, fancy stuff and everything, the main dish itself will be about $45.
Yeah.
The glass of wine aside, on the side of your meal is going to be about $9, $8 to $9. The pint of beer will be $8 to $9 as well. And obviously, those kind of prices that we're talking about right now, they're the average, right? So you will be paying different prices in different places that you go. And actually, on backpackerguide.nz, we do have like the list of the fine dining restaurants, but we also have the list of the cheap eats in every cities. So if you do want to save some money and still treat yourself some really good food, you can definitely check those one out. For example, in Auckland, there is a place we really love. It's called Number One Pancakes. And it's really awesome, and you're gonna have like really good like kind of pancake savory with like onions and bacon and stuff like that in it.
And they do sweet pancakes too.
And I think they're about $6 to $8, depending on what you're getting. So that's pretty cheap, and that's really awesome. So in the pub as well, if you want to get yourself snack food, like if you want some fries, some wedges to nibble on while you are at the pub drinking a beer and everything, that usually going to cost between $9 to $15 depending on what you're ordering. So that's more for other type of food. But yeah, for fine dining, it goes all over the place. Like usually dessert will be between $15 to $30 depending on what you're getting. The entree will be between $15 to $40 depending on what you're getting as well. And the main, and Laura said, can go up to like $50. But it really depends. Depends
on where you go. But I usually say that I expect to pay between $30 and $40 for a main at a proper restaurant on an evening. Yeah.
So, and then you're also mentioning that you want to do homemade. We're guessing that it's cooking for yourself. So that's using the kitchen of the hostel that you're staying at. Please know that if you stay in an Airbnb, it's very rare that you actually have access to the kitchen. It's not really a common thing here in New Zealand. You don't really have access to the house. You have your little room, and then there's a sign on the door saying, basically don't get out. It's our place. So keep that in mind when thinking about your accommodation. But food-wise, so how much does it cost when you go grocery shopping?
Yeah, so obviously this also depends on where you go. Usually small towns will have slightly higher prices because there's less competition in the supermarkets. But then in huge cities like Auckland and Christchurch, there's a few supermarkets which might be a little bit cheaper than the rest of the country. So we'll just give you an overview of sort of typical food prices with typical food items. So for instance, if you're getting a bag of pasta, which is around 500 grams, this can cost anywhere from 90 cents to $2.20. For a kg bag of rice, that's usually around $2.40. For a loaf of bread, that can be between $1 to $4. For a dozen of eggs, that is $3 to $7. For a can of tuna, that's about $2. For 1 kg of cheese, that's between $8 to $10, which dairy products are pretty expensive in New Zealand. Just be warned now, because you might be shocked when you arrive here. Milk, so for a litre of milk, that's between $2 to $3. For a kg of tomatoes, that's between $2 to $4, but usually that's quite expensive now. Depending
on the season. At the moment it's winter in New Zealand, so we are, the tomatoes are around like $11 a kg.
Yeah, so obviously obviously it's better to get seasonal fruit and vegetables to get these prices that we list on here. So we are on apples per kg is between $3 to $4.50. Potatoes $2 to $4 per kg. Onion per kg $1.50 to $3.50. Chicken per kg $8 to $15. Beef per kg $10 to $17. Pork $6 to $15. And lamb per kg is $17 to $36. So yeah, and we've already talked about the how much a pint of beer.
All right, so that's the kind of just a generic kind of idea, so you know where to place kind of your food cost right here. And a couple of piece of information right here. Every price that we gave you right here are in New Zealand dollars, obviously not in US dollars, not in Australian dollars, in New Zealand dollars. So you kind of have to make a little bit of a conversion in your head to know that. And finally, I do know that there is a big index in the world to know the cost of life in places, and it's called the Big Mac Index. I don't know if you guys know about that, but basically they kind of like look at the price of a Big Mac everywhere in the world, and it kind of give you an indication of what's the cost of life around. So a single Big Mac in New Zealand, if you are familiar with the Big Mac Index, is $5.20. So that should help you figure out if New Zealand is expensive, super expensive, mega expensive, or not expensive at all. And I do know that a lot of people are going to be commenting right now that, oh my gosh, it's more expensive, or it's super cheap, or this and that. It really depends on the rest of the cost of life in New Zealand, how much you're earning and all of that. This is not, we're not doing this video to kind of create debate on is New Zealand actually expensive. We're just doing this video to help you out, figure out what's going to be the cost of your road trip in New Zealand, and can you afford food in New Zealand, which obviously we think you can. It's definitely doable. Now, something that a lot of people ask usually when we talk about food is also how much do I budget per day, right? And it really depends how what is your food habit. Laura and I, when we were on the road and we did New Zealand's biggest gap year, we had our own RV and we were cooking for ourselves almost all the time to try to save money on the road. And we were spending about $90 a week only for 2 people, but we were definitely kind of on a budget to do that. Nowadays, when we actually are on the go and we eat out and everything like that, it's more about, and that's the average, because sometimes we don't eat out, sometimes we do. It's more between $30 to $40 per day. For 2 people traveling around. So that's a mix of like sometimes going to a cafe, sometimes going to a pub, sometimes cooking for yourself and kind of mixing around. But it should give you a good indication on how much money you need for food to allow for food when traveling around New Zealand. And obviously be a savvy consumer. When you see the menu, don't always go for the most expensive stuff. Don't always get a drink with your meal, because that's obviously super expensive. Just those kind of things. If you're a bit savvy, you'll be able to save a lot. Anyway, I hope that was super useful. Like and subscribe if you found this useful, and plenty of links in the description below to help you plan your trip to New Zealand. Now I'm going to go back to the live chat. Tero says that we are near Queenstown and all hotels are above $1,000 per night, and the cheaper ones are full. Yep, we told you to book really early. There's no surprise right here. So if you go on backpackerguide.nz, we have a list of like hotels that we like and everything, and maybe check out Wanaka. It's not long of a drive from Queenstown to Wanaka, but it's an amazing place to stay at. So check out our favorite accommodation in Wanaka, and book yourself in right now, because you've got to book it. It goes up really, really fast. And if you see $1,000 per night now, think about what you're going to see in the months from now for the few things available left. So I'll
just suggest, like, you've given some suggestions for types of accommodation, and you've said hotels, motels, and Airbnb. Perhaps look at holiday parks. They do cabins, which would definitely fit a group of 5. So it's a kind of like a motel style accommodation, but just in a holiday park, which also has camper vans and stuff as well. So that would be a really good thing to look up as well. But in Queenstown, I think there's only about 4 holiday parks, which are probably going to be full as well. Or otherwise, you can look at hostels too. Maybe book out a dorm for 5 people. That could be an option too. So there's just a few other things to look into as well.
Definitely sort that out as soon as you can, Tero. It will only go up. Matthew Kennedy says, what are your top 2 things to do in Auckland? My favorite things to do in Auckland is Rangitoto Island. It's really amazing. You take a ferry from the Auckland PVT from downtown Auckland, and you go on the volcanic islands. You can walk through a New Zealand native bush. You have lava fields. You also have some lava caves to explore. And on top, you have a beautiful crater. And from the top, you see the whole Auckland skyline and all the island of the Hauraki Gulf. So it's really amazing to do. It's a very easy walk as well. Like this is where they take school trips and everything. So it's really super easy, and it's rather cheap to get there by ferry. So on top of it, you get a free cruise around the Auckland Harbour. So I personally really do like that. What do you like, Laura?
I like walking up Mount Eden, which is a free thing to do, and it's up one of the volcanic cones actually within the city of Auckland. You can walk to it from Auckland City, or you could even drive up there if you don't really feel like walking. And it has some really awesome views of the city skyline and of Rangitoto Island that Robin was just talking about. So if you want to get some good photos, that's a good place to go.
If you want good photos in Rangitoto, you go on Rangitoto.
Well, you can as well, but...
But there is plenty of awesome things to do in Auckland. If you do want to do something indoor because it's raining, the Auckland Museum is really nice as well. There is a lot of awesome good food, and the prices, we just talked about them, so here you go. So yeah, there is plenty of fun things to do in Auckland. Goat Island Marine Reserve is really awesome as well. So if you get to drive, you get over there and you can swim with awesome fish and everything like that. And you can do clear kayaking. You can go to Tiri Matangi Island, which is known as probably one of Laura's favorite islands.
Yeah, so that's a pest-free bird sanctuary, meaning that there's no invasive pests on the island. So the birds that are native to New Zealand can sort of thrive there, and it's a really good taste of what New Zealand probably used to be like before humans migrated to New Zealand. So you see lots of crazy birds, and it's just really good if you're into wildlife.
Yeah. HSVL says, which suburb area is affordable within $300 per week in Auckland? Basically, 2-bedroom at least. At least 2-bedroom for $300 a week are in Auckland. I don't think that exists. We were living in a crappy, very small apartment. That was a studio apartment that we were paying $470 a week. I think
maybe one of the really outer suburbs. Then maybe there probably would be something in
maybe something
West
in
Auckland,
West or South Auckland. I'm guessing, but I'm really not sure. I think those are a bit unrealistic expectations. HSVL, sorry about that, but we're not obviously housing experts. We're travel experts, so it's just from our knowledge right here. So we're not housing experts, so we won't be able to answer.
A good thing you could do is go on to TradeMe, and you can, so there's trademe.co.nz, and on there's a big database of rental properties. Just search in the Auckland suburbs in there and sort of show your price range, and that should be an easy way to sort of get an idea of what the price of rent is in the suburbs that you prefer in Auckland.
Yeah? That's your favorite one? South Auckland?
What?
Is it your favorite suburb, South Auckland?
Oh, no. Nowhere in Auckland's my favourite suburb.
Why?
To be fair. Because there's more to New Zealand than Auckland.
That's very true. All right, so Annie Piper says, thank you for the info on food. That's very helpful. Where are the best places to zipline? We're looking for a place with great views, but also a good course. All right, so in New Zealand, there is actually quite a lot of places to zipline too, and we actually have an article on Backpacker Garden NZ, which are the best ziplines in the country. But because there is so many different out there, we can give you a bit of our take on all of them, because we actually did quite a lot. In fact, if you do actually type on the search box of this YouTube channel right here, you type zipline, you're going to see us doing quite a lot of different ziplines in the country, including the one in Queenstown that we have a video on. Which one else do we have a video on? We have the one in New Wellington, which is kind of adventure park, which has like zipline and stuff like that. So
Waiheke Island.
Island as well. So we've done quite a lot, but here are like kind of our 10 favorites.
Okay, we'll start with one in Rotorua, which is Rotorua Canopy Tours. This has around 650 meters worth of zip lining to do through both native forest and I think there might be a little bit of redwood forest there as well. But yeah, it's through mostly native forest, where it's kind of a little bit of a nature tour as well. You get the opportunity to see New Zealand birds. Sometimes they even have a kind of a half-tame New Zealand bird that comes down, and you can actually feed it from your hand.
Half-tamed,
yeah. I mean, it's a wild bird, but it kind of knows that the zip line has come often with food. So so there's 6 zip lines in total on that course, with the longest one being about 220 meters, which that is pretty long, and that's definitely a really popular one to do in New Zealand.
All right, so the next one on the list is Zip Trek, which is in Queenstown. So you can find a video of that on the channel. Just type Zipline, and you'll find us, going crazy on that. And depending on which tour you're doing, there's between 4 and 6 different zip lines to do. You're going mostly through pine forest, so it's not native forest, but you got some really amazing views of Queenstown, of Lake Wakatipu, and all the mountain ranges and everything like that. It's really awesome. So to get it started, so to start the tour, you actually take the gondola up in Queenstown, and then you walk a little bit on the side, and it's really awesome place to do. And they have quite a lot of long ones, so you get to do a lot of different like starfish or bomb or anything like that. So you actually get plenty of space for you to experiment, which is quite cool.
Yeah. So this next one isn't quite like the others. It's not a course, a zipline course, but it is kind of like an extreme zipline. So this one is Canyon Fox, which is also located near Queenstown. And this one is where they also do the canyon swing. But with this fox, they basically do a giant zip line across a huge canyon. It's about 182 meters high, so it's pretty extreme. Yeah, so that's more if you want to do like a huge zip line, like a big adrenaline rush activity.
Do you compare it more to a bungee or to a zip line?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of more like a bungee experience, but without you actually, it's just an alternative bungee jump, something that's maybe not as scary as a bungee jump,
I think it's as
but still pretty extreme.
Yeah, I think it's as scary as a bungee at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one is Skywire, which is in Cable Bay Adventure Park. That's near Nelson City, and that's actually kind of that's the tamest kind of zip line that you can be doing in the country, right? So you kind of sit in kind of, let's say, chairlift. If you've ever been going skiing or snowboarding, you have like those long chairlifts. So you kind of sit on the chairlift with 3 other people. So it's kind of like, to be fair, it's the zip line that you actually share with your friends. It's quite cool. So you get to share it with your friends. So you are 4 people sitting in the line, and then you kind of fly your way through. You get native bush. You get really awesome views and everything like that. So it's quite nice. But yeah, it's the tamest kind of all the zip line, but it's the most social one, because when you do the activity itself, you actually are sat with your mate. Because usually in zipline, you kind of, you all wait on a little platform on top of a tree, and then you kind of hook everybody one by one. They give you the safety instruction, and then 3, 2, 1, boom, and then they send someone, and you do it all on your own, and then you go over there, you unhook, you do it. It's kind of like it's a whole process, and you kind of like just do a lot of waiting, and also you do a lot of waiting, and also usually you do the fun part just yourself, and then you talk about it, which is fun as well, because you get something to talk about with it. But in this one, it's kind of interesting because you get to actually share the experience with everybody, because you're on your, I call it chairlift zip line.
It's definitely a unique type of zip line in New Zealand. There's no other zip lines like that one.
Yeah.
So the next one on our list is something that we've actually both done. We did this together on New Zealand's biggest gap year, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it already, this is when we did 365 days of 365 activities in New Zealand. And one of the activities we did was go up the Skyline Gondola in Rotorua. And up there they have loads of different activities to do, one of them being the Zoom Zipline. So this is just one zip line again, but this is really cool because the zip lines, there's 2 of them together, and you both go down at the same time. So you can also share that experience as well.
You go side by side. So let's make it really clear, right? There's always one person that goes faster than the other, so you can't really look at each other for the whole way. Just And in our case, Laura was the one going faster than me, so I don't know what it says. But she was definitely going down there much faster than I was. So there you go.
So this zip line is about 400 meters long, which is a pretty huge zip line. And once you've finished doing your zip line, then you take a little chairlift back up to the top, where you can then go on one of the luges. So the luge is downhill go-karting, so you can combine it with that activity, and that is super fun. There's 3 different tracks of like varying difficulty, and that's another way to get competitive with people that you're traveling with.
So this, the one she was talking about, so is on top of the gondola in Rotorua, so the Skyline gondola in Rotorua. It's probably one of the cheapest on this list because you literally just have one zip line, and then that's all it is compared to all the other one we've been talking about. The next one on the list is EcoZip Adventure, which is on Waiheke Island. So Waiheke Island is right in the middle of the Hauraki Gulf in Auckland. So you have to take a ferry to go there. It's a really amazing island which has beautiful beach. It has a lot of vineyards. It's really famous for its vineyards and all its alcohol and stuff like that. So yeah, you do the zip line in the morning and then you go get completely smashed and trying some awesome wine. That can be an amazing, girls' day out for you, Annie and Ati. I think you guys are gonna love that. So you go on Waiheke Island. I think they have 4 different zip lines, if I'm correct. There's three only. Okay, here you go. But there's a video of us doing it. Doing the EcoZip zip line in this channel. So just type EcoZip or just type zip line and you'll find this video. So you go over some vineyards and then after you straight away start going into native bush. And it's a very kind of eco tour, so they take the time to tell you a lot about the local forest and then their conservation efforts and all those kind of things, which is quite awesome. And it's just a great way to kind of to get a bit of excitement in your Waiheke Island escape. Usually you go to Waiheke to go from one winery to the other and try different wine. Oh, with that you can just kind of get the heart pumping a little bit. And make sure to do it before you start drinking wine because if they think you're tipsy, you're not getting in. So just a quick tip right here.
Better to do the morning tour.
Exactly. So you start with that and then you go to the vineyards, right? Don't go the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's my take for Waiheke.
Yeah, okay, so next on the list is another one near Queenstown, and this is the Kawarau Zipline, or Zip Ride, sorry. And this is from the same bridge where the famous Kawarau Bungee is, which was the first commercial bungee jumping site in the world. Well, just in case that bungee jump is a little bit too extreme for you, they do offer an alternative, which is the zip ride, the zip ride, and you sort of get harnessed, like you get a full harness on and just dangle below a zip line. It's a little bit different than holding onto a piece of rope in front of you. This is a full harness. You can even do it tandem, so if you're traveling with someone else, you can be harnessed together and go down at the same time. And this one is about 130 meters long, so it's not really as long as some of the other zip lines in New Zealand, but the scenery is pretty stunning. You're in the beautiful gorge of the Kawarau River with vibrant blue waters. There's mountain scenery all around you, so that's a good one to combine with some good scenery.
Another pretty famous zip line in New Zealand, and I think that's number 8 on the list, is the one in St. Benedict Cavern. It's part of a kind of Blackwater-ish tour. It's part of a tubing tour around the Waitomo Caves, and it's with a company called Waitomo Adventures. Now, they are going through some caves that they're the only one to go through there, and one part of the tour is through St. Benedict Cavern, which has a lot of stalactite. It's all beautiful, like white limestone. It's absolutely pristine and stunning environment. And you zip line basically through this cavern to go from point A to point B, which is quite awesome. Now, this tour is kind of demanding. It's a fun adventure, and most people, which are kind of like fit-ish, can do it. But it's not for people which are not comfortable kind of getting out there, because it's you have a 60-meter abseil to start with, and you go in the cavern and then you move and then you kind of crawl your way through caves, and it's wet and it's it's dark and it's fun. It's really a lot of fun, and you can see us doing similar tours. So you type Black Rafting and you're going to see us doing similar tours on the channel right here. We didn't film when we did this one, but it's really awesome to do. That includes one zip line. Now, okay, it's not necessarily a zip lining tour and everything, but New Zealand is a pretty small country, so to give you a lot of different options with such a small country, find some different alternative things.
Yeah.
So that's another zip line that you can combo with another tour. If you plan on seeing the beautiful Waitomo Caves, the stunning glowworms and everything like that, and you also want to do a zip line, maybe just do one tour, pick this one, and so like that you've done both of them at the same time, and you save yourself some money.
Well, the next one on the list is actually the other company in Waitomo. So Robin just talked about Waitomo Adventures, which is where you go through St. Benedict's Cavern, but the other company is called the legendary Blackwater Rafting Company. And they have, one of their tours is called the Black Abyss Tour. And while that's mostly about caving and scrambling through the water and the caves and abseiling as well, there is one portion of the tour where you get to go through a zip line, or do a zip line in the dark, which is pretty crazy and pretty scary. But then when they put the lights on, when you get to the end, you see yourself in beautiful limestone caves as well. So that's a pretty awesome experience, and the alternative to doing Waitomo adventures.
And the last on the list is called Adrenaline Forest. So now they have one in Wellington and they have one in Christchurch. It's kind of those kind of adventure park where you have a lot of different challenges to climb trees and go higher and higher and higher. And at some point you have a zip line. So it's kind of it's things that the kids really do love. If you do really want those kind of things, definitely go ahead for it and go crazy for Adrenaline Forest. But yeah, it's just it's easy. There is a zip line there. It's great for kids. I don't think that adventurers would definitely love this thing.
It's kind of like, it's a fun and like a quite affordable thing to do. It's just under $50 for an adult to do it, and it does take you like half a day to get through the whole obstacle course. So if you're looking for like just a fun thing to do for half a day that's affordable, has a few zip lines, it's kind of like a bit of a challenging obstacle course, then it's good for that. But if you're looking for more unique ziplining experiences that are more just about New Zealand, then the other ones that we've mentioned on the list are probably a better way to go.
Here you go. So that's our take on the 10 best zip lines in New Zealand. I hope that was really helpful to you, Annie. I know you're going to be traveling with your mate Ati, so that's going to be, let us know which one you're going to be choosing. And
take a look at this article on backpackerguide.nz. If you just type in the search bar on backpackerguide.nz zipline, you will see all of the ones that we just mentioned on there, and you can also just click on the links and book it.
Yeah, easy as. You can book it straight away with the Viator, with them and everything. We personally prefer booking with Viator because you get better cancellation policies. So that's our take. The same for accommodation. We prefer that as well. Booking.com, I think they have the best cancellation policies. Anyway, like and subscribe if you find this useful, and I'm going to go back to the live chat. All right, so HSVL says, what's your advice between Wellington and Auckland for settling and point of view? We have a video about that already on the channel, so just type Auckland and Wellington on the search bar of the channel and you'll find it out. Tiro gave us a donation of €3. Thank you very much, Tiro. I didn't know that looks like that. No one's ever giving us donation, so it looks bright and blue. I was like, what is this thing?
Fist bump. I like that.
I like that. Good fist bump for you, man. We're very happy to help you planning your trip. If you do have any other questions, obviously, go ahead. We are here to help. If you guys don't know, Tiro is traveling with an entire tribe. I think they're traveling at 5 people all the way from Finland. So Tiro has a lot of planning ahead of himself. What is Annie saying? Annie says, thank you very much. I'll check out the link. One more question today. Are there any activities you would suggest booking in advance? Anything in summer, you're going to want to book it in advance.
Yeah.
If you're coming to New Zealand summer, which is...
It's between December and January.
And the broader summer season.
Make that into March.
Yeah. And start November.
Maybe November as well.
November through March, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, book all the stuff. Like, you've got to book. Like, you see, take the example of Tiro right here in the live chat, right? He was asking us if he needs to book accommodation and everything, and he's already telling us that for December and January, some prices in Queenstown are already $1,000 per night. I cannot stress enough how full New Zealand gets around between November and March. It gets really full, and for this reason, it is quite hard to find accommodation and activity spots and all of that. For example, when watching in Kaikoura, they're really famous for being booked months and months in advance. So if you plan on doing that, you've got to book it in advance. So that's why we actually went through our website and we when we did this whole update on the website that we just finished, we added a ton of links for you guys to be able to book them either on Viator or on booking.com and everything. So you are able to have also kind of decent cancellation policy because you don't want to book stuff right now and then not being able to cancel or this and that. So that's what we link through to Viator. So we made sure to actually give you all the right link to book all your stuff just because it gets really busy. And I'm not joking. You're going to see us in about a month if you keep on watching this channel. You're going to see us starting answering questions of, hey, I cannot find any accommodation here or there because it's fully booked. Do you have any other alternative? Do you have any other alternative? It happens every single year. We spend our time doing that. So You guys are lucky to be watching us just before everything starts being fully booked. So please take our advice. We can't stress that enough, but start booking if you're planning to travel between November and March this year in New Zealand. Please book.
Yeah.
And he say, thank you so much. Wow. Whew, almost all of them start with thank you so much.
Yeah.
We are planning on going in November, so we'll make sure to take your book as soon as possible. Luckily, we already have our hotels booked. Good. Well done.
Onto it.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, so car rental as well, like all your transportation, everything. Make sure you book that. Yeah, we have all the list of like our favorite car rental and transportation stuff and everything. All of that, we've been on the website, so you should be good. All right. I know. I felt like I did a plea for like please book, but you've got to. All right, let's keep going with some questions that we received earlier. While you guys are getting warmed up with some of the questions, what should we have a look at? What should we have a look at? I had one prepared and then I lost it because I'm an idiot. Where was it? There you go, Magda. All right, so if some people are into work and traveling, some people are here on the working holiday visa. So let's talk about that. So on Facebook, Magda says, hi, question. Any idea how people get to work for picking, etc. if there is no own transport? Any solution? Thank you. All right, so if you are doing some picking jobs, for example, and you do not have your own car, how the hell do you get to work, Laura? How does it work?
Well,
so is there any solution?
There are some solutions.
So before we get started with the solution, just a quick disclaimer for anyone which is watching and which is not sure what we're talking about and that on Travel Channel. In New Zealand, there is something called a working holiday visa, which allow young people between 18 to 30 or 35 years old to come in New Zealand to work and travel for up to, well, it's 12 months for most countries, but some countries are 24 months. So you are able to come to work and travel. That allows you to offset the cost of a big trip to New Zealand despite being young and not being able to save that much, and kind of maybe save some money along the way and being able to do more. Now, a lot of people, when they do that, they decide to travel by bus or to buy their own car. If you decide not to buy your own car because you can be asked traveling, driving, which I totally get. I love looking at the sceneries. I personally prefer traveling by bus. And you find yourself a job, especially fruit picking, which is a really easy job to get for a backpacker that pays quite well, actually. You may be stranded in a hostel in a town and be like, how the hell do I go to work? So the first solution would be to go and stay with a working hostel, isn't it?
Yeah. So working hostels are usually located in areas where there's a big horticulture or viticulture industry, meaning that there's a lot of fruit orchards or vineyards in the area. For instance, two of the most popular places for that is Tauranga in the North Island or Blenheim in the South Island. And in these two towns, there are loads of hostels which are called working hostels, and what they do is that they actually help people that are staying with them long term, like actually staying in the dorms for the whole picking season or for a few weeks of the picking season. They can actually help you find the job because they do have connections with the local picking companies. So not only can they help you find work, and that's only if you're staying with them, but they also operate shuttles or vans where basically all the people working at a particular picking farm group together and take the van to go to work. So that's definitely a popular thing, again, in Tauranga and in Blenheim. And that is one way around
But also in Napier.
Napier as well. And I think also around the central Otago region, so in Cromwell, for instance. And
then all the way northland above Bahia, Kerikeri.
Kerikeri as well. Yeah. So they'll either have like a hostel van, or maybe there's usually there'll be people that are staying in the working hostels which have their own vehicle as well, and if they're working at the same place as you, it's obviously it makes sense to go carpooling together to get to work. So yeah, usually if you're staying in a working hostel, that's a surefire way to make sure that you will have transport or some way of getting to the job.
So the other kind of option is to make some friends. I know it sounds really silly, but a lot of other backpackers will have a car, and a lot of other backpackers will have very similar kind of jobs and probably work in the same place. So even if you're not staying in a working hostel, make some friends. We make friends with some people in your hostel, and you may be able to arrange something in that way. I mean, this is very rare that, for example, we stay in hostel, and even when I was backpacking around New Zealand, I had similar jobs like that, and I had my own car, and I was taking people to work all the time. It's a community, so there's kind of very little chances that you're going to be the only person working where you're working. So friends with your coworkers, friends with other backpackers, sort this out. You may have to pitch in a little bit for petrol, which obviously would be normal, right?
Yeah.
You just kind of give a little bit of money for petrol, but that may make your life super easy to get to work like that. So, and also, I mean, it's while you're traveling, right? You're not taking a picking job just because you're passionate by picking fruits, right? It's all about the camaraderie and all those kind of things. And that's really what these kind of jobs really encourage. So, yeah. And the last option is to work for some of those largest companies like Ziplines or those kind of things.
Yeah, so when you work for larger companies, like Robin says, like Trayland, they not only work on the picking side, but they also work on the packing side of fruit picking jobs, which basically means putting the fruit into boxes so they can sell them off, export them overseas, or put them in New Zealand supermarkets. So on both aspects of those jobs, these larger companies usually have transport picking up workers from wherever they live, in usually a central location within the city.
Yeah, there's like pickup points.
And then bringing them to work and back home again. So they're definitely the larger companies make it super easy to get to and from work. And they do understand also, because these types of jobs are entry-level jobs, because they're usually like minimum wage jobs, they do understand that it's usually people that are in New Zealand for a short amount of time, or just usually people on a working holiday that don't necessarily want to buy a car. They do have that in mind and can usually help you out with transport.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that at the moment, New Zealand has more need for fruit pickers than it has fruit pickers. So, you know, there are quite a lot of companies that will bend over backward in order to make fruit pickers' life easier, in order to get them to work and all that. And that's why also the job actually currently paid that well. So yeah, keep that in mind. It's not going to be hard for you like that to get to work, even if you do not have your own car. There is plenty of different options, as we just highlighted in this video. Now, if you have a question of your own, make sure to put it in the comment below. We're happy to take any questions that you guys are giving us, and we do a video about it. And even better, join us live. We are live every Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. So it's usually Saturday evening for you guys, wherever you are in the world. So yeah, keep that in mind and join us, and like and subscribe if you find this useful. All right, so moving on, something asked, have you been watching the Rugby World Cup? So if you guys don't know, rugby is really popular here in New Zealand. So yeah, so rugby is the #1 sport here, and the All Blacks were playing in the World Cup yesterday. They were playing against South Africa, and they won 23-13. So here you go New Zealand.
Spoiler alert!
What do you mean? Sports has to be watched live. What nonsense? I mean, I don't think anyone is watching sport not live. What's the point?
I remember my dad back in the day used to record sports and then watch it the next day. So we'd try and avoid the score until he got to watch it himself.
Well, I'm sorry.
I don't know if other people do that, or if it's just my dad's maybe a little bit.
I'm sorry, something, but okay, I just spoiled that for you. So apologies if you were asking me if I just watched and didn't want to hear the score, but yeah. That happened, but yeah. So when the All Blacks are playing, so rugby is kind of like the religion here in New Zealand, right? It's as big as football it would be in Germany, France, or the UK, right? Or as big as American football would be in the US, or as big as hockey would be in Canada, or as big as cricket would be in India. And I'm not going to keep going that way. But yeah, no, it's really popular here in New Zealand. So when the All Blacks are playing, definitely try to head out to a pub. Even if you're not into sport, like admittedly Laura and I are not into sport, but if the All Blacks are playing, go to the pub, and you have everybody that kind of cheering it at the screen. And no matter where you are, it's a big party, and yeah, everybody's super jovial until the All Blacks lose. But a good thing is that they don't often lose, so it's great. But yeah, make sure to try to experience. You don't necessarily have to be in the stadium to feel the vibe and the spirit. You definitely can be in a pub, and you will really enjoy that. It's quite a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Amit says, what's the total expense including rent and all items per head in New Zealand? No idea, mate. Everybody has different needs and different stuff. You know, okay. Laura and I together, we spend $1,200 a week. I don't even think it's correct. But there you
That's
go.
not correct.
Yeah, just go for that. I don't know. You just ask a question. You don't tell me how many people and what is that. I don't know. Yeah, I would say $600 per person. There you go. Including rent. You know.
Yeah.
Probably something like that. That's a week.
And if you like to go out for meals, maybe drive to work every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It really depends.
Yeah, it does really depend.
It's way too generic of a question, and also it's not really travel related. So sorry, we don't really comment that too much. Krista Bista says, I was watching the All Blacks yesterday at a bar. It was so cool. Just like ice hockey atmosphere in Finland.
Oh, cool.
Hey, you're from Finland as well. I think Tiro was from Finland as well. That's cool. Yeah, Krista, if you do have a chance to see a local game as well, it's quite fun. So, there is city teams like the Oakland, they have the Blues, and the Crushers, they have the Crusaders and all that. If you get a chance to see those things, honestly, they're really cheap. They're like $10 to $15 tickets to go to the game in the stadium. It's quite fun. Sit with the locals. It's not like football in Europe where sometimes you have some clashes and everything. That doesn't happen in New Zealand. Everybody's super friendly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, even if you don't understand the game, they will explain it to you. It's a ton of fun. So if you've got a chance to do that, you don't have to watch the All Blacks play. You can watch like the crappiest little town play, and it's a lot of fun. So if you get a chance to do that, it's a really genuine Kiwi experience. So yeah, if I can give you a tip, Krista, give it a shot. Even if you're not into sport, I mean, we literally are not into sports.
No.
I mean, at all.
We're into fun atmospheres, though. So
yeah, exactly. We're into fun time, not sport.
Yeah.
But when they're combined, well, you can find us there. So yeah, there you go. No, it's a lot of fun. So you should definitely try that. All right. So if you guys have some extra questions, make sure to put them in the comment below. We're here to answer all your questions. And yeah. Usually we are here on the Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, which is what time around the world?
I'm glad you asked, Robin, because that is... So we're here also, that is also on a Saturday at 4 p.m. EST in the US or 12 p.m. PST. That is on a Saturday night if you're in Europe, usually around 9 to 10 p.m. And in India, unfortunately, that is a bit of an annoying time, Sunday at 1:30 a.m. So sorry about that, India. It is kind of hard to please everybody with those times.
But if you're Indian, you can put your questions in any comment of our videos. So any video that you watch of us and you feel like you have a question about traveling in New Zealand, put it in the comments. And if it's actually a question about traveling in New Zealand, and if there is enough details for us to answer it, sometimes you have what do you like best in New Zealand? We can answer that. It's not too generic. Like I just said to Amit, like what's the total expense in New Zealand? It means nothing, I don't know for what period of time or anything like that. So you've got to actually give us a bit of details. If we have enough details, we're super happy to actually print them, which I do every single week, and I put them here. And we try to go through them as much as we can. Like for example, this week we went through 3 of those. So we keep going down the list. And anything which is seasonal as well. So if you're asking about the weather or this and that, we obviously kind of make sure that we answer before the season is there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so make sure to actually give us your questions, because this channel only works if you guys are actually sending us your question. Otherwise, we just don't turn on the camera and we just take the Sunday off. It works as well.
Yeah.
It works as well. But obviously, if you do have questions, we are here to help. Anyway, that's going to be it for us this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out Backpackerguide.nz if you want more information. And like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and all those kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I thought I saw an eye doctor on an Alaskan island, but it turned out to be an Alethian. I think that is something weird. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Good night, whatever it's time for you. If you're in India, it's both good day and good night at the same time. So I'm just confused what to say. Bye-bye.
See you later.